Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about trade associations and how they can help businesses grow in the Asian market. My name is Brendan Gaffney, and I'm the Global Marketing Secretariat at IMCJ, which is the Independent Music Coalition of Japan. I'm not Japanese, obviously, but I do work in Japan. And today I'm joined by a few really awesome panelists. The first one is Yushi Yamashita. He's the chairman of IMCJ. I also have Jeffrey from India and Sonya from Music Biz. So thank you all so much for your time today. I'm going to start by asking all of the panelists to make a very short self-introduction of themselves as well as each of their organizations. So, Yamashita-san, could we start with you? ご自己紹介と、UCJのご紹介をお願いします。
はい、山下よしと言います。日本から来ました。IMCJ、の、代表をさせていただきます。また、K サーブという、ダンスミュージック、巻き込んだ、R&B、ダンスミュージックに特化した、インディペンデントのレーベルの経営を20、年以上やっているっていうと、あと、本体の、ベースフィールドの役員、そのファウンデーションの取締役、いろいろ、やっております。よろしくお願いいたします。
I'm just going to quickly translate his answer. So, his name is Yushi Yamashita. He is the chairman of the Independent Music Coalition of Japan. And in addition to that, he is the president of KSR, which is an indie label focused on hip hop and dance music in Japan, as well as an executive at Faith Group, which KSR is a group company. Okay, Jeffrey, how about you?
Hi, my name is Jeffrey. I work for a company named Fluxus Inc., which does global distribution. Who is also a member of our local Korea trade association called the Label Industry Association of Korea, LIAC for short. LIAC is an organization that is of mixed numbers of labels and as well as distributors. We have about 40 members now, and hopefully we'll continue to grow.
And thank you so much, Sonia.
Hello again. My name is Sonya Askew, and I am a membership and academic partnership director of the Music Business Association. Earlier this morning, I mentioned that this is a non-profit trade association that supports the industry as a whole. Companies and individuals in the music industry. We've been around since 1958. We have over 500 company members. This just runs the gamut of all businesses within the industry. So whether it's a record label, retailer, publisher, law firm, artist management, it is all under the Music Business Association. And we're all about creating events to educate, empower, and support professionals like yourself.
Thank you so much. I was just translating. Thank thank you all for your self-introduction and your company introduction. I think that maybe some people in the audience might not know what a trade association is. So I wanted to start off the panel by just simply kind of defining what a trade association is and what kind of work this type of organization generally does. So maybe Jeffrey, can you take that one?
Sure. So yeah, a trade association, it can vary from country to country of what that looks like. But essentially, a trade association is within the industry, so it's music business, and companies within that sector coming together under one organization as members to kind of meet together for an aligned business purpose. So like I mentioned before, in Korea, LIAC is a organization, a trade association of label members and distributors whereas for Sonia, I think she was saying like for her organization, she includes a lot of a much wider, organizations for her trade association. And that's partly because for Riyadh in Korea, we tend to focus more on label related master right owned topics. And so all of our members together, we come together to kind of identify the problems that are affecting the sector, and we as a trade association can try to affect change. So that's kind of
Hey, thank you, Jeffrey. Did you have anything to add something?
Well, Jeremy was pretty much on point that the Music Biz Association is just about the music industry as a whole. So all businesses that fall under that umbrella. And we are about just representing the interests of our members and helping them set certain standards within the industry. And we are about, as I mentioned, creating events and moments where we can bring all of our members together, maybe either to talk about the challenges of the business, maybe setting the tone for the business. For example, Music Biz, I mentioned earlier, is hosting a trust and safety symposium in New York. Well, that came about from one of our members saying, "Hey, we've got to talk more about music fraud and how we address that issue." So a lot of times we will try to address issues that our members are bringing to us by putting on conferences, workshops, etc. So we're all about trying to set the tone and best business practices for the music industry as a whole.
Great. Thank you so much. So yeah, I think that that's a great point that, trade associations can kind of define who their members are and also their mission and goals and work together, with their members to achieve those things. So they could be, a trade association just dealing with master rights holders or, in music, in this case, kind of a wider group of industry professionals. I wanted to also talk about the type of specific challenges that music companies face in this global music industry and how trade associations can specifically help to address those challenges. So I'm going to ask Yamashita-san, どの問題、ブロック音楽業界でどの問題があるのかをお伺いしたいんですが、その後、トレードアソシエーションがどのようにサポートできるのか、したいです。
はい、先ほど IMCJ に説明をしましたけれども、まだ IMCJ7 年目なんですが、4年前からですね、私の方が理事長をやってまして、もともとは現場、マスター、ライツを志して、会社で誰でも入れるというところから始めまして、今17社なので、今55社も増えていて、いう、形になっています。これは、昨今のですね、ストリーミングデジタルの成長によって、日本という市場というのが、すごくCD だったりとか、いわゆるフィジカルに依存している、マーケットなんですけれども、デジタルの一気に加速につれてです海外をちゃんとコネクトしていかなきゃいけないということで、IMCJ に、海外の会社さんが多いという形になっています。IMCJ の活動としては、何やってるかと言いますと、まず、デジタルのストリーミングが正確に行われるかという、検証だったりとか、メタデータの、セミナーだったりとかですね、あとマッチング、いわゆる他の PA、パレードアソシエーションとの、いわゆる交流だったりとか、そういったことも、フィジカル、フェイスとフェイスに合わせてやっているという感じになっています。比較的インポートとエキスポートの問題っていうのがすごく、お互い理解しながらやっているという現状もあるんですけれども、近年は、例えば、他の国とのコラボレーションだったりとか、コラボレーションキャンプの促進だったりとか、そういったことをエデュケーションも含めて、今トレードアソシエーションとして行っているというのが、ここ、2、3年の動きというか、になります。パンデミックの状況が続いていたので、なかなかこうやって、皆さんとお会いしてお話しするという機会がなかったんですけども、ようやくですね、パンデミックが明けたというところで、実際に、人と人が会い、交流を深め合い、やっていくということがすごく大事かなと思っています。 日本にはいろんな団体、トレードアソシエーションを含めていろんな団体ありますけれども、IMCJ はですね、唯一と言っていいほど、海外グローバルに目を向けた団体として、日本の中でも今注目されているという状況になっています。
Thank you. So to answer this question, he would like to kind of talk about what IMCJ members face in terms of challenges and also what IMCJ is doing to support our members. So IMCJ has been around for about 7 years. Originally from 17 companies that were master rights holders, now we have 55 members, including indie labels and distributors. As a lot of you may know, in Japan, the CD market is still very, very strong, and digital uptake has been a lot slower than in other places. So the first thing that IMCJ has to do is educate its members on the digital music economy, because there has, even though CDs are still really strong, there has been a kind of transition towards digital in Japan. It is growing, even though it's slower than in other places. So we want to educate our members about different topics related to digital, such as metadata. We also aim to connect our Japanese local music industry with the global music industry. So we have a lot of different events to do that, such as matching events, both in person and online. And a lot of the focus on those events is music import and export. And yeah, I think that connecting our members with global companies is a really big value at IMCJ. So that's sort of a challenge in Japan, and by educating it, making these events, we're trying to solve these problems. Yeah, Jeffrey, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I want to say because Korea is actually, very similar, I guess, to Japan in that sense. Might be facing challenges in the US, of course. But at least in Asia, man, I feel that compared to maybe the rest of the world, like UK or the US, there are different just working styles, the way just the country has developed different laws, just different habits. And managing the same problem will look very different from country to country. So sometimes there are good lessons to be taken from overseas. Other times those lessons will not apply to your home country. And I think trade association, when you look at what problems there are, it's very important that, the education factor about it so people understand what the problem is, but then trying to figure out what is the best way to solve the same problem in your home country. That's kind of one of the challenges I think that Asia, trying to kind of look at be a part of the world music community has some trouble facing right now. But I don't know.
Well, I was going to say that since the music biz community has so many segments and membership, that sometimes there's an issue for one segment of our membership and the other segment, it isn't an issue. I mentioned it earlier, for example, when Luminate decided to change how they were going to weight the sales of indie retailers. So our indie retail community, they were not happy. Now, other segments that say the BSPs, Amazon, Spotify, they were like, nah, they didn't really care. But it's very important as a trade association that all the members feel like they are being seen and heard and they're important. So different as far as in the US, no, the physical sales aren't what they used to be in the US. Doesn't have as much market share. But it was important that our members knew that as music biz, we heard their complaints and we stepped in to say, okay, we've got to do something because now you're not counting all the sales of indie retail and it's affecting the charts. So my boss, she stepped in and said, look, we're going to find another company, a street pulse that will capture the sales of way more indie retailers, like around 400, and report and give that to Luminate. So in that way, our indie retailers really happy. They realize that, okay, it's just not about the big companies, music is here, it's about everyone. So that's one of the things that trust, I think is very important that the entire member community trusts you as a trade association, that you're really going to hear my complaints. You'll rep me as well. You're not just worried about the big companies.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That kind of the wider um, membership means that you have to go about it in a very strategic way, addressing all of the concerns and challenges. It's really interesting to hear about the initiatives. So I hope we can talk more about that for all of us through this panel. But I wanted to also ask how can trade associations help their members specifically navigate, international regulations, copyright laws, matters that have to do with licensing. I'm going to ask Yamashita-san first. プログラム音楽業界で調査できる問題がライセンスにトレードアソシエーションがどのようにメンバーをサポートできるかをお伺いしたいと思います。
著作権の問題、演奏権の問題、隣接権の問題、いろんな様々な現場だけではなくて件がありますけれども、そういったいわゆるトレードアソシエーションとしての団体の動きというのは、やはり数の議論だと思っています。やはりDSP に対してもそうですけれども、一個先はなかなか、条件を変えられない、なかなか発言がしにくいということを、団体を介して、正当な、公平性を担保できるような、発言を、推進していくということが重要かなと思っております。で、もちろんですね、権利者を擁護するというのがトレードアソシエーションとしての目的の一つがありますけれども、こういった開かれた、世界になってきたというところで言えば、やはりコネクトできる相手だったりとか、関係性を深めるということがすごく DNA としては重要な役割かなと思います。これはアジアでもそうですし、ヨーロッパ、もしくは北米でもそうですけれども、いろんな国によってその権利の考え方が違ったりするということがあります。そういったところをいろんな、国の、情報を、見極めながら、我々の国では何ができるのか、我々の団体では何ができるということを常に、模索して今動いているということです。これはすごく権利者と、いわゆるディスカッションを重ねて、関係性を深めるということがすごく重要かなと思っています。
So, basically, regarding copyright, regarding neighboring rights, all types of different, rights in this field. There are a plethora of different problems and issues that need to be solved, especially for the members of our trade association. So the most kind of important way to do this is for information share, especially with other global partners that we have, so like sister trade associations in other countries. What Yamashita-san said is that, copyright is thought about differently. The concept of copyright is thought about differently in each country. So, for example, if we want to solve problems with, cross-border royalty payouts, we need to understand how people in other countries define copyright, what kind of laws, regulations, officially and unofficially, there are, and educate our members as well as tell partner, our partners overseas about how it works in Japan. So this is like a really important kind of action that we take at IMCJ to help our members in this regard. I was wondering, maybe Jeffrey or Sonia, do you have any other?
Well, I was just going to add that this is when we really lean into our members because we know that, okay, we may not be an expert in that area. So what we'll do is we'll reach out to a member that has that access, has that information, and maybe we do a workshop around it. Maybe we do a webinar around it. Maybe we, during our conference, we had programming with the experts and the panelists, in that area. And something else, just as far as me being here and being able to attend this conference, I had never been to China. This event came up, and it was like, you know what? We need to be there so we can hear the issues and the challenges. And I just met someone from, what is it, China Audio Video Copyright. And so I'm like, oh, great, that's a great contact. Perhaps that's an organization that Music Biz could partner with going forward. So even though we have a strong team of 9 people, we realize that we're not experts in all territories. So that's when we use the brain trust of Music Biz to say, hey, this is an issue. We have someone who's trying to move into this market. How can you share that information? Because we're all about sharing the information with the rest of the membership community.
Yeah, just to kind of add on to that, it's really challenging, especially for country to country, as Samsung had said before. Like I think even before that, like people need to realize that not every country has even the same rights. So, me coming from Korea, I want to collect, certain rights from Japan, US, but guess what? They don't have any law or any means or have never been collecting any of that money. So they try to go and say, hey, we want this money because we have this right in our home country. They don't even have the money to get in the first place. And so being able to know that, it's a challenge. I've tried to learn like, oh, okay, US, I made a little spreadsheet and I like, oh, these are the rights they have. This is how they collect it. And even then, it's just it's impossible. And so what's really great about the trade association from me in Korea is either, again, I can either talk to a member that might have that knowledge, or, in this case, now that I've met Sonya, I'm going to be like, hey, so can you either direct me to a person that might know about this and give me guidance? And it just makes it so much easier and, beneficial to navigate such a complicated and, difficult kind of thing in the industry that's very critical to be honest. So
Yeah, I remember last year we actually had a phone conversation where
yeah,
we were both trying to learn about
yeah,
each other.
exactly. Like what
Country.
there in Japan?
Yeah, but which organization?
Yeah, can you remind me?
Yeah, but another point that I wanted to bring up is that both IMCJ and the app are members of something called WING, which is a global organization that coordinates and supports all of the local trade bodies in each country. So I wanted to ask Yamashita-san, because he is very involved in WIN. If you could explain to the audience what WIN is and kind of how we work with them. So WIN のことについてご説明いただけるとありがたいです。
ウィーンはですね、いわゆる、大手資本系の、ソニーはユニバーサル以外の、原版権利、を持っている会社が、入れる、団体でございます。で、世界に今、49県国、49カ国、37団体から構成されている、スペインのアトリアで発生した団体でございます。非常に、活発に動いておりまして、メイン自体がですね、いろんなリソース、特にネットワーキングに力を入れていて、ヨーロッパ、インパラだったりとか、南米のラテン、ネットワークだったりとか、そして、我々アジアの、パパライアンスっていうところに対して、すごくリソースと力を割いていただいております。実際のところですね、ヨーロッパの団体形成でもあったというところもありまして、アジアに対しては、アジアの中で、解決すべき問題があれば、英国の TA、だったり、IMCJ だったりとか、英国で言うと、ニュージーランドに IMLZ、オーストラリアや、また南インドに今日来れなかったですけど、いらっしゃるというところで、このいった TA 間で、強く、コミュニケーションを取り続けながら、問題解決をしていこうという、動きを、やってまいります。 なので、先ほどの話とちょっとスピンアップしたかもしれないんですけど、日本から、海外、外に出るですね。いわゆるハブがなかったわけです。それを、グリーンは提供してくれて、我々 IMCJ のような動きが、こうやって助け合いながら、進んでいけますし、そういったつなぎができたということは、すごくグリーンには感謝をしております。まあ、今日のミーティングもそうですけど、APAC アライアンスを通じて、IMX と IMCJ で APAC サミットっていうのを開催させていただいて、そういったすごく起点的な幅を作ってくれる、シードのようなものが、メインになっているような形になる。
So, as I sort of mentioned before, WIN is the global body that organizes all of the territory trade associations, specifically trade associations that deal with master rights holders. So at current, WIN has 37 associations in from 43 different countries. Some associations represent more than one country, especially in Europe. The main thing that Wing does is that it provides opportunities to share information as well as resources that we can use in order to standardize, business practices to learn more about other territories, et cetera, with regard to master rights. Wing also has some different regional working groups where trade associations in different regions can come together and share all of these resources and this information. In IMCJ and in Liam's case, we're part of something called the APAC Alliance Working Group. Other members in this working group include the trade association IMNZ from New Zealand and AIR from Australia and SINCOT from India. I think in the future, as more trade associations are born in the APAC region, we'll have increased, presence from those countries as well that they have working group. But basically, we work together to kind of make the APAC region kind of a new hub for the global music business, and we have this kind of a big summit called the Asia Pacific Music Summit that we're doing every year now. This past year in September, we actually partnered with IMX, who we were very grateful to have help us bring in speakers, conceptualize the whole program. So, without our work in the APAC lens, we wouldn't actually have been able to work with IMX. So, through this lens, we can also work with people that are not members of WIN, but share the same kind of goals and ideals. Jeffrey, do you have anything to add about the APAC Alliance, or did I sum it up pretty well?
You hit everything on the head there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So, Sonia, I also wanted to ask you a little bit about like information sharing as a music biz. Like, what are some of the specific ways that you like share information in your organization? Do you have working groups and things like that as well?
We share information with our members and non-members. So we have two separate mailing lists, one for our members and one for our non-members. So our members have access to our weekly newsletter. I'm sorry, bi-weekly newsletter. But we also have the Common Ground webinar. We have a blog series. My boss, Portia Saban, does a podcast. These are all things that we post on our website for free, musicbiz.org. We leave it up there for 3 months. So a lot of times we may have different companies, whether they're a tech company, maybe they're publishing. We'll have companies that submit to say, hey, I want to talk about this topic, this issue, etc. We do that every other Thursday. That's the Common Ground webinar series. Take a brief little break during the summer. After it airs, and you're more than welcome to tap in, it doesn't cost anything. We leave it on our site for 3 months. You go to our site and you can watch it. Anything past 3 months, if you were to email and say, oh, I missed YouTube's Common Ground webinar series. If you're not a member, then you can't gain access to it. But if you're a member, we just send you that link. Other ways that we share information is doing mini conferences. So the Music Biz, the big conference that I had mentioned earlier today that takes place in May, will be May 12th through May 15th in Atlanta, Georgia. That's more B2B business focused. That's where we have over 2,000 people from all over the US and all over the world, and they attend that. I'll be honest with you guys, this isn't the type of conference where you have a lot of artists that come. We had members that said, hey, I want to get in front of artists. We should be able to educate the creators as well. So what we do in the US is we do this thing called the Roadshow. Totally free. We will go to different markets and we're basically teaching that creative, that indie artist, the business side, the royalty rights, the publishing, etc. We'll have it from 4 to 8 p.m. or 5 to 9 p.m. We have a couple of panels and then we do some networking at the end. So that's another way that we try to educate a different audience. We do symposiums. As I mentioned, so we have all kind of things available on our website. We do in person and we do virtual events as well. But we're constantly always trying to share information and also sharing the information from our members. Of course, we use you can follow us on our socials as well. And that's how we share industry information, industry reports, uh, information that has been verified. So we're always looking to share. And of course, yes, I want people to join Music Biz, but I like to tell people you don't have to join. We, we have lots of free information. It's there for you to see, and it's more about the awareness to know that we are here to support the industry as a whole.
Great. I wanted to also ask specifically about, um, providing resources and sharing information in terms of the digital music economy. So, there are a lot of new tools and um, things, strategies, involved with digital music. And I wanted to ask how trade associations can provide, educational resources and training to help their members um, adopt these new technologies and stay competitive, both within their country as well as on the global stage. So maybe I'll ask Yamashita-san, if that's okay. デジタル音楽業界ではいろいろな新しいテクノロジーがツールがありますので、トレイドアソシエーションでは特に IMCJ ではどのように、そのツールの活用とか使い方とか、どのように教育してるのか、メンバー会員をお伺いしたいと思います。
はい。IMCJ の説明がになりますけど、IMCJ がトレードアソシエーションなので、IMCJ をトレードアソシエーションと思ってもらって、結構だと思います。いわゆるテクノロジーだったりとか、そういった方たちの、専門家でをですね、我々は理事を、要してまして、保有してまして、ちゃんとしたベストプラクティスを提供しているという状態になっております。いろんなユースケースを、使っていかなければ、これは、正解があるかどうかっていうのは、これはテストを繰り返さないとできない問題であって、これは現場だけではなくて、出版もそうですし、いわゆる合理的に、権利者が使いやすいような、そういうストラクチャーをですね、構築していくサポート、情報のサポートだったりとか、コミュニティを結成していくということを、非常に大事に考えております。今、現在地としてのテクノロジーから、本当、多分今後5年とか10年とか経つとですね、全然また違う、議論になってくると思います。それぐらい、テクノロジーの領域っていうのは発達してますし、それを活用するのも人間ですから、どうやってそのテクノロジーに対して、合理性をとって、進めていくかっていうのは、その都度、やっぱり解釈も変わってくるので、議論を重ねることが必要だと思います。
すみません。2時間後的委員会と、大丈夫ですか？So, yeah, sorry that we're talking about IMCJ so much, but it's really easy to kind of illustrate what a trade association does if we can talk about what we're doing at IMCJ. So we are broken down into different committees at IMCJ. We have three committees right now, and one of them is focused on music and technology. So we like to provide our members with a lot of educational opportunities. For example, demonstrations for different platforms or new technologies or resources that we think would be helpful for them. We also are involved in a number of different, conferences, panel discussions. We organize these both for our members and for the general public in order to share information on all of these new digital tools. And of course, technology is really important and it's, ever growing, but humans are the people that use the technology to accomplish different things. So a lot of times we also try to facilitate discussions among our members in terms of how the technology should be used, how their companies are going to grow and or change in the future. Um, how we want to what direction we want to go in as the Japanese music business. All of these conversations, debates, sort of information exchange opportunities are equally as important as demonstrating the technology and new tools themselves. Jeffrey, did you have anything that you wanted to add on this one?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of mention like so LIAC, we are actually very very similar in question, but um our membership base is very wide in terms of where they are as a business. We have some members that are just a handful of people to companies that are very technologically advanced. So um, the purpose of LIAC is not necessarily like we don't try to run you a business. That's not the purpose of what our trade association is trying to do. But we want to provide you with the information and the tools that allow you to take your business to the next step. So, for example, if we were to bring in and share about some new standard and best practice from a music service, for example, for distributor members, that might not really apply to somebody that is still, keeping their label copy in an Excel sheet. But the idea here is that we want to be able to have that information accessible. So same as what Sonia is saying, it's like you don't have to be a member, but the importance is the information and knowing what's going on is what's going to allow your business to succeed. And so specifically for like a country trade association, which has specific country related issues and kind of progression, how it grows, that's where what we try to do with that in terms of bringing in technology and sharing information and what are the best practices if you try to change it this way, it'll help for your business and allow you to enter to like a world stage thing like that. So it's very similar, but our approach is just like a little bit different, just because we are also like a little bit smaller than IMCJ as well. So, they have different objectives.
Actually, our approach is very similar to your approach. It's not, we want to provide you the information that our members share with us. And that's some of the things I've already mentioned. And not trying to just keep talking about the conference, but that's where a lot of our DSPs may decide to launch something new or mention some enhancement that they're had to their platform. A lot of the DSPs hold workshops during our conference. So it's just about us making sure that that information is available to the community. But we per se aren't going to, I'm not going to lead some training session about this platform and their enhancement. But our member may be sharing that with you either at the conference, via the newsletter, or any type of blog series that they decide to engage in.
We only have 5 more minutes left in the panel, so I want to pose kind of a final discussion question for each of you and hear your closing thoughts. But obviously, nobody knows what the future is going to look like in this, ever-changing music industry. But do you have any closing thoughts on how trade associations can kind of evolve to support their members in the future to adapt to up and coming trends and global shifts? Covering this.
So I kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday, but I think, one of the main benefits for like a trade association or even an organization like WIN is the consolidation, the collective coming together. Independence by nature are independent. You are kind of separate, and you alone can only do so much before you just don't have the powers to achieve what you need to do. And having that collective, you know, um, like that unity, whether it's information sharing, whether it's networking, whether it's just, coming together and identifying the big problem that a lot of independently um, run businesses face, but then coming together to fix it, it would benefit everybody. And so I think in the future, it's just really important for the independent sector to, of course, maintain your identity and independence, but to be able to be a participant in the community of independence globally. And that way, individually you can grow. And so, trade associations, or just organizing in some way is just going to be ever more important in the future.
Great. Any final thoughts?
I would say for music business, we have to think more globally. We just can't be about the US. And with our 500 members, I would say almost 15% of our members are outside of the US. And so one of the things that we're doing, like last week, my boss was at a conference in Paris, which is why she couldn't be at this conference. So I think as we move forward, hopefully we'll be involved more with conferences like this, or maybe even partnering with associations like yourself to do events outside of the US. Because when I'm talking to our international members, yes, they love the virtual things that we do, but they're like, okay, your conference has just basically been held in the US. When are you going to do things in other territories? So for us, that's one of the things that we're going to focus in on as we move forward, because music is global and our organization is to be global as well. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch because I would love to invite you to our future events and conferences. So we'll stay in touch about all of these things. And I want to also give Yamashita-san a chance to answer this final question as well. So, Yamashita-san、最後のご質問なんですけれども、将来のトレンドとか、音楽業界で将来のトレンドとか、ことについて、トレンドアソシエーションがどのようにメンバーする方法というものを、お伺いしたいと思います。
トレードアソシエーションが出れることっていうのは、先ほど言った、マッチングだったり、ネットワーキングだったりとか、リソースの提供で、いわゆるテクノロジーの、エデュケーションだったりとか、そういった、セミナーだったりとか、そういったことは、すべてやるんですが、あとは、人と人をつなぐということは、すごく重要かなと思っています。これは音楽のみならず、全ては人間から生成されていて、それを他の人たちが環境だったりとか、を及ぶ、含むっていうところがありますので、そういったところで言うと、トレードアソシエーションの役割としては、これは青天井というか、全てのことをやらなきゃいけないかなと思っております。ただ、これは、発展のために、やっていることであるので、IMCJ もそうですし、今そうですけれども、いわゆる非営利の団体として、できる時間が限られているというところで、皆さんの協力なしではできないことを実現していこうかなと思います。100年後の音楽業界、もっとスパンで言うと50年後の音楽業界だったりとか、10年後のレコード会社って、どういう形になっているのかっていうのを、アーティストとかクリエイターの目線からもう一度検証すべきかなと思います。すごく私自身がエアバンドを20何年やってきて思ったことは、 すごくトレードアソシエーションとかも大事だし、いわゆるグローバルのネットワーキングも大事だし、そういう政治的なことも大事なんですけど、実はアーティストとかクリエイターの声をちゃんと拾えてる団体っていうのがすごく少ないような気がしていて、こういったその波及をちゃんと持つ、公平性をフェアに、アーティストフェアに、行動を共にするということを、作っていくということが、大事かなと思いますし、そうなっていく未来であってほしいなと思います。
ありがとうございます。So, basically, as we've been saying throughout this panel, it's really, really important to continue doing the things that we're already doing. For example, matching events with both local and international partners, trade missions so that we can continuously find out what's happening in other countries and share with them what's happening in our country, in our case, Japan. And, at the same time, we have to keep eliciting participation in all of our events and initiatives from our members. So, kind of, I don't want to say targeting, but appealing to them in the most effective way is very, very important. So we need to make room for them to share their opinions and get feedback. And the final and probably most important point that Yamashita-san said is, in order to move forward, we don't really know what the music industry, or for example, even a record label is going to look like even 10 years from now, or what kind of functions they're going to be playing. So, number one, this means that trade associations may need to encompass more sort of functions themselves to cover these different changes. And at the same time, we need to really, really listen to the voices of artists and creators and constantly get their feedback. We need to see the industry more from their point of view and make sure that we're advocating for them and supporting them in the way that they need to be advocated for and supported. So, he was involved in A&R for 25 years and has a lot of experience dealing with artists working together with artists and supporting them. And this type of expertise is really important for us, a trade association, to cultivate because artists and creators are kind of the backbone for everything that we do. So this is a really important point, and I think that that's a nice sentiment to end this panel on. So thank you all so much for your time today. I hope we can all stay in touch, and thank you.